An open letter to the CEO of Delta Airlines. Dear Richard, I rarely do such things, but when you have such an above and beyond exceptional experience with a company, it just feels wrong not to share. It all started with a call from one of my employees, sobbing over the telephone, telling me that she had been denied boarding on her flight from Denver back to Uganda. When asked to produce the credit card used to purchase the flight, she was unable to do so because I, as her employer, had purchased it on her behalf. I know this is a rarity for an employer to be so generous as to pay regular business expenses for her employees, so thank you for the opportunity to allow me to highlight our unusual benefit package and let her know just how lucky she is to work for us. When unable to produce the credit card, the one that doesn't belong to her, you denied her boarding and just canceled her flight. When I received this call, I myself had just returned from East Africa and was in the midst of launching a new website and product line and closing a round of capital. Needless to say, on this busy and important day, I was secretly hoping to get out of the office and steal a few minutes away for myself. Dear, sweet Delta, you provided me not just a few moments, but 5 long, glorious hours, making my way to the airport and dealing with this whole situation. 5 hours of pure bliss. How did you know that that was just what this overwhelmed small business owner was pining for? Between your customer service line and your airport staff, I had the privilege of talking to not 1, not 2, not 3, but 12 members of your staff. I'm quite the people person, so you can imagine how energized I was by this opportunity to make so many new friends. And the best part is, I got to start from the beginning of the story with every single one of them, explaining my situation over and over. That was a real treat for this chatty Kathy. The talented and adept Redcoat team answered all of my questions and explained to me that my employee was asked to present her credit card because, and I quote, "the country of Africa is full of frauds." How embarrassing. All of this time, I was under the impression that Africa was a continent full of all kinds of different people. Thank you. Thanks to your intelligent and worldly staff, I realized my grave and humiliating error. I owe you one, Delta. In an effort to capitalize on the wealth of knowledge that your team possesses, I asked a few questions for my own edification, like what other countries are full of fraud like Africa? The Philippines, your redcoat said confidently. Funny, I've had my credit card stolen 3 times, and all 3 times the purchases have led me to believe the culprit was a middle-aged man living in Texas. I'm clearly an exception to the rule. I was not expecting such an educational experience. And I must say, as a lifelong learner, I cannot thank you enough. After purchasing a last-minute ticket at full price, one of your staff members walked away with my credit card. He mistakenly put it in his pocket. And by George, based on my newfound knowledge, if he had been a Filipino or an African, I would have suspected fraud. But alas, he wasn't, so I assumed benign intentions. Tracking him down to find my card added an additional 45 minutes to my expedition. I was, of course, secretly hoping to hang around the Delta counter for just a bit longer after I finished purchasing my second ticket. You know, just to be in the presence of your knowledgeable staff and maybe learn by osmosis. But I must admit, I probably would have felt a little bit insecure just hanging around. I mean, do they feel the same about me? Is this warm, tingly feeling I get around the Delta Redcoat team mutual? Your sweet, intuitive team member Steve must have sensed this visceral desire in me to stick around, and that's why he walked away with my card after my purchase had been complete. He afforded me those last minutes of relational bliss at the Delta ticket counter. Today, this magical experience started to fade in vibrancy, as all sweet memories do with the passage of time. So, can you imagine my delight when I received yet another phone call from that needy little employee saying that yet again her ticket had been revoked? 3 days and thousands of dollars later, she still isn't at her final destination. But Delta, I've got you figured out now. You're just looking after her. I would be an irresponsible employer and just a bad friend to just send her off into a sea of unruly frauds in Africa. Delta, you're like the protective older brother I never had. Of course, this gave me yet another chance to jump on the highway, head to the airport, turn up some T-Swift, and go have another fun afternoon with my red coat besties. I even changed into my favorite red dress, just to feel like one of the Delta gang. I'm now back, sitting at home, wondering if my employee will ever make it to her destination. But more importantly, I'm refreshing my Facebook page obsessively to see if any of my Delta besties have friended me yet. With my utmost respect and admiration from one CEO to another, Liz Forkin Bohannon.